Narcissism is often misunderstood as confidence, arrogance, or excessive self-love, but this misconception hides the real psychological mechanism at work. True narcissism is not rooted in strength, but in fragility. It develops as a defense when a person learns early in life that being authentic is unsafe, when emotional needs are ignored, when love feels conditional, or when validation replaces emotional safety. The psyche adapts in order to survive. The individual learns that being admired is safer than being known, so instead of developing a stable inner identity, they construct an image. This image becomes a protective shell, a persona designed to attract approval, admiration, attention, or control. Over time, this persona is no longer something they use. It becomes who they believe they are. Psychologically, losing this image feels like losing the self, and this is why narcissism reacts so intensely to criticism. Criticism is not experienced as feedback, but as a threat. When the image cracks, the underlying fear and shame emerge, triggering defensive reactions such as anger, denial, blame shifting, or emotional withdrawal. These reactions are not signs of confidence, they are signs of psychological protection. Another defining feature of narcissism is the difficulty with empathy. This does not always mean the person feels nothing. Often, they can intellectually understand emotions, but emotional empathy requires vulnerability, and vulnerability once felt dangerous. As a result, emotions become transactional. Relationships are not built on mutual safety, but on utility. People are valued for what they provide: admiration, reassurance, validation, status, or emotional regulation. When these supplies diminish, connection weakens. This dynamic creates unstable relationship patterns that follow a familiar cycle. At the beginning, there is intensity. Attention feels intoxicating. The narcissistic individual may seem deeply present, emotionally attuned, even ideal. This phase creates a powerful bond, not because it is real intimacy, but because it activates the nervous system through validation and reward. Psychologically, this is idealization. Over time, as emotional closeness increases, something shifts. Intimacy begins to feel threatening. The closer someone gets, the more exposed the narcissistic core feels. Instead of moving toward vulnerability, the system protects itself. Devaluation begins. Warmth becomes inconsistent. Compliments turn into subtle criticism. Affection becomes conditional. The partner starts to feel confused, as if they are suddenly doing something wrong without understanding why. This confusion is not accidental. Narcissistic dynamics destabilize perception. One moment you are valued, the next you are dismissed. The brain struggles to reconcile the inconsistency, leading to overthinking, self-doubt, and emotional hypervigilance. This is where gaslighting often appears, not always through blatant lies, but through subtle distortions. Feelings are minimized. Reactions are reframed as overreactions. Concerns are dismissed as problems of sensitivity. Over time, the person begins to doubt their own perception. Boundaries are treated as rejection. Needs are interpreted as demands. Empathy flows in one direction. The narcissistic individual may appear deeply affected by their own emotions, while remaining detached from the emotional reality of others. This creates an imbalance where one person carries the emotional weight of the relationship, constantly regulating, anticipating, and adjusting. Emotional exhaustion becomes the norm. And yet, leaving the relationship often feels impossible. This is where trauma bonding forms. The cycle of reward and withdrawal conditions the nervous system. In the same way, intermittent reinforcement creates addiction. Moments of warmth and validation activate hope, while withdrawal activates fear and longing. The bond is not maintained by love, but by instability. When the relationship ends, many expect relief, but instead experience emptiness, guilt, and confusion. The nervous system has adapted to chaos. Silence feels unbearable. The absence of intensity feels like loss. This is why recovery from narcissistic relationships takes time. It is not simply about missing a person, but about recalibrating a nervous system that learned to associate love with unpredictability. Toxic personalities extend beyond narcissism, but share similar mechanisms. Control replaces communication. Power replaces vulnerability. Image replaces authenticity. These patterns erode emotional safety slowly, often without obvious conflict. The damage is cumulative. People involved often feel smaller over time, less confident, less clear, less themselves. This erosion happens because toxic dynamics disconnect individuals from their inner compass. When emotional reality is constantly questioned or minimized, self-trust collapses. Understanding narcissism and toxic personalities is not about labeling others as villains. It is about restoring clarity. Clarity allows you to recognize patterns instead of internalizing blame. It helps you understand that confusion is often a signal, not a flaw. Narcissism is not driven by power, but by fear. Fear of being ordinary. Fear of being insignificant. Fear of being unlovable without the mask. Recognizing this does not excuse the harm, but it explains it. Healing does not come from fixing narcissistic individuals. It comes from understanding why certain dynamics felt familiar, why boundaries felt difficult, and why intensity was mistaken for connection. Recovery involves rebuilding a relationship with your own emotional reality. Learning to trust your perceptions again. Learning that love does not require self-abandonment. Learning that calm is not boredom, and consistency is not emptiness. Narcissism thrives where emotional safety is missing. Healing begins where clarity returns. If this explanation resonated with you, you are not weak and you are not broken. You adapted to survive. And understanding these patterns is the first step toward emotional freedom. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more psychology insights and secrets of the mind.